My father's on his deathbed. Well, just a little while ago, he got married. And let me tell you right now, my new stepmother and stepsister are an absolute nightmare. Well, you want to know the worst thing they've done to me during this story I'm about to tell you? Well, they tried to kill me. I really did not want to have my stepmom and stepsister attend my wedding, but it's my father's last wishes. Right now I'm very upset and I don't know who to tell. I've been so emotional lately. I should not even be emotional. I should be very happy because I've just gotten married and this is the first night of my honeymoon. But instead of being with my fiancé, I've chosen to sit at a cafe, which is surprisingly still open, and pour my heart out here. I have a weird thing where I don't express my emotions very much, and I don't cry when I'm sad, and I don't show anger, even if I feel it. Instead, I just write all that I'm feeling and I feel better. I've been thinking about this situation all week, but I've not come up with a solution, and I have no way to feel better. I remember a friend of mine who used to post when she had problems with her mother-in-law, and she even got some helpful advice here, so I thought I would give it a shot. Let me start from the beginning. My father married my stepmom about a year ago. She's the owner of a boutique along with her daughter Addie, who's a model for the shop. She's not the nicest person, but I stay out of their way. I moved out of my father's house years ago because I just wanted to be my own person. My father was very protective of me growing up to the point where I was a spoiled brat. When I started going to college, I met many different people and interacted with them. It helped me to see that I'm not the most important person in the world. I saw that I had it good. Way better than some of my friends who studied hard to get where they were, and that was how I decided that I was not going to take my father's handouts when he passed away. I told him that I was not going to accept any of his money, and since I was only direct family, it was obvious that I was going to get the inheritance. Due to the fact my father planned to donate everything. After college, I moved away, and then I met my now husband. I heard a year ago that my father was getting married. He had fallen in love after so many years, and well, I was happy for him. After what happened with my mom, who hurt him a lot, I was happy that at least he could love again, and he could stop annoying me. He got married to his wife, whom I only met once or twice and whom I've respected. I did not want her to be my mom or anything like that. I just needed her to be respectful to my father and to love him. My boyfriend and I had already been engaged for a year and a half, so we decided to start planning the wedding. I'm a plus-sized woman, and I know it, and I love myself. I know that my body type is not ideal for everyone, but I'm happy with the way that I am. Since she owns a boutique, my stepmother offered to gift me a dress. So I spent an afternoon at her boutique where I finally saw her true colors. She was not only rude to her workers, but showed bias if somebody did not fit the typical size 0, which most women desire. She already seemed to know who could afford her clothings and not, so she would set her daughter on them like a hound, just to make them feel worse. I was already feeling uncomfortable after being there for 30 minutes, while the assistant gathered the dress that would fit me. It was not a bridal shop, but there was a good selection of gowns. She already knew that I was not going for the traditional white dress, so that made the whole dress selection process so much easier. When she came back with the dress, I tried them all. It was a bit fun in the beginning, like an episode of Say Yes to the Dress. But then things went downhill when she and her daughter started talking about how I looked. As if that was not enough, they said that I really needed to either go for surgery or go on an extreme diet. Well, I know how I look, and I'm confident enough to walk down the aisle just like this. I eat healthy, and I was not going to starve myself just to fit into a dress I was not going to wear again. The dresses all fit, but the style was not my typical type, so I politely told them that I did not like any of the dresses because they were unflattering. I do not want to be mean, but it was like they were curtains. They chose all the dresses which would hide my body and not show it, so let them know that I had to go. And right as I was leaving, I heard them laughing about how I looked, and they could not believe that I managed to bag such a successful project manager as my fiancé. My stepmother said to her daughter, "I don't know how you're still single when even whales get dates. I told you to get more work done on your body, but you told me about health risks. Blah, 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 as if that's ever stopped somebody." I was already getting upset just listening to them, so I left. I had to see them later on at dinner, which turned out to be another emotionally charged event. For one, Addie and her mother were talking about me and laughing. They did not know that I could read their lips, and to add to that, my father told me that he had something to tell us and it was very important. He told us the dreaded news about his health. His cancer was advancing fast, so he did not have that long to live. He said that he already accepted it and exhausted all the options to get treatment, but it was not possible, so he was not going to make it. He said that before then he just wanted to be surrounded by family. Since I had a job, he was going to move to his house, which is closer to me. I suspected that he would tell me this months ago, but hearing it now was not the best moment. I felt crushed and thought of how life can be so unfair at times. My father is a very good man who has always shown me love, and I've never lacked anything in my life. Even though he has a lot of money, he strived to improve the lives of people who cannot do it for themselves. I told myself that I would do anything to make sure that he was happy in his last days. He did move to be closer to me, and I included him in my preparations, but the problem was my stepmom and stepsister. They stopped pretending to be nice to me. They were resentful because, according to them, I made him move here, and now they were far away from all their friends. I told them that they could go back if they wanted because no one was tying them up and forcing them here. Of course, they were very upset when they heard that, and they called me many names, and told me that my marriage would not even be successful. I avoided going to that house when they were present because that would cause a lot of argument, and I did not want to argue with anyone. When I sent out my invitations, I did not give any to them because they were full of negativity, and of course they had a problem with it. I explained to them that we were not related nor friends, so they could sit it out. For days there was drama until they played such a dirty card. They got my dad to allow them to come to my wedding because his last wish was to be around his whole family. So, begrudgingly, I let them come to my wedding but told them that if they did any sort of funny business, I would kick them out myself. On my wedding day, they did not listen to that. Instead, they passed around mean comments and acted like it was not my wedding day. Then Addie decided to drink too much and flirt with the best man who had a girlfriend right there, and there was a fight at my wedding. The situation was resolved quickly, but after that I said there's no way that I was going to accept this. I told her mother to control her and stay at the very back with her. I did not want to see or even hear them. I did not see them for the rest of the wedding until we left, but then when we landed, I got sent videos that have been taken at the wedding about Addie's drama, and I got very upset. It was a wave of anxiety and anger, and I needed an outlet to let it all out. I told my fiancé that I just needed some time alone, which did not lead to an argument, thankfully. I will make it up to him tomorrow, I promise, but I just need to brood. I don't know why these two men hate me so much, but I hate that I have them at my wedding. I know that my father wished for it, but I'm upset with him. Why does he love her so much and let her treat me like crap? I've let him know, but she has made it seem like I'm making a mountain out of a molehill when I complain, and I'm simply tired of it. I don't know what to do, because when I come back from my honeymoon, I will still have to deal with them. Seeing them gets me very upset, and I just want to do some bad things to them, and I'm not a hateful person, but my father married a jerk. Now he's dying, and he doesn't even see it. So, what I want to know is how I deal with this evil stepmother and stepsister duo, because I'm tired. They've ruined my wedding, and people are not talking about how beautiful the ceremony was. They're talking about the drama that Addie caused with her mother. You would think that at 26 years of age, she would be able to handle her liquor, but there's no such thing. That's because she never eats. She's on a diet, and then she drinks on an empty stomach because she's crazy. Well then, I'm done with this for now. I'm done. Update number 1. Hey everyone. Thank you so much for your kind responses. I've read through all of them, and you did give some very good insights. So my father's in the hospital at the moment, and we've been told to prepare for the worst. I've just gotten off my honeymoon, and I'm still experiencing that marital bliss. The only thorn in my backside is, as usual, my stepmom and stepsister, who do not care about him at all, are not even by his side. I've had to babysit my stepsister, who has made new friends in this city and has continued on partying and wasting my father's money. Her mother is no better, for she is always out of town on business, and I've had to be the one who opens up to Addie when she comes home late since I moved back in with my dad. I'm only here a few times a week, but it's absolutely hell having to deal with her. To make matters worse, she's ruined my social life at work because of her behavior, and she somehow went out drinking with some of my colleagues and made a fool of herself, getting herself thrown out. But of course, the icing on the cake was that she told all of them that I am her sister. She then insulted me and called me a know-it-all, and then said that I had a meltdown over everything for nothing. When I came to work on Monday, people were giving me funny looks, which I do not appreciate at all. Later, at lunch, it was then that someone mentioned how crazy my sister is and asked why I did not do anything to help her because she was struggling. The thing is that at work, I've never shown any weaknesses. You cannot with these vultures. You have to make sure that you seem like you're in control of your life and at all times. That is how to climb the corporate ladder. Even Sven agrees with that. This is one of the reasons I love him, because we both have such deep ambition, but now I'm the laughingstock of the office because of her. When I tried to explain that she was my stepsister, they started to probe into my life. That is a very childish thing to do, right? Well, tell that to the people I work with, who will make something into an office joke just to humiliate me. There are people who have been out for me from day one, because they do not believe that I'm good enough for this job since my father is rich. They're just waiting for a reason not to respect me, and here she is. After a very humiliating day at work, I went to see my dad. We had dinner with Sven as well, and luckily she did not show up. Later on, she came back and she was blackout drunk. I went to get some water, but then I came back to Sven shouting at her. I asked what's going on, and he said that she tried to make a move on him. It took me 2 steps to dump the ice-cold water over her head, and a few more to walk her out the door and throw her out. She banged on the door for ages, but I did not let her back in, and her mother spoke to me, and she said that she did not appreciate how I treated her daughter. I went off on her and told her to stop allowing her low-ambition daughter to do whatever she wants, because I will put her in her place. She said that her daughter was 10 times better than me, who was sad fat girl trying to make it in a man's world. I slapped her, without even thinking, and then she ran to tell my dad what I did to her. My father was in a very fragile state when she reached him, and which was when she realized that he was unconscious. We called the ambulance immediately and then got him to the hospital. So for now, my father's in the hospital, fighting for his life. Update number 2. I just want to add a disclaimer that I've used fake names here, and I hope that they don't find out that I've told anyone about this, because then they might harm me. I'm scared of them, of what they'll do to me. They're more dangerous than I thought, and I feel that they were responsible for my father's death. I know that does not make sense since he was already sick, but he was feeling better one day than after Addie visited him. He passed away. After he passed away, Ruth told me to stay out of the house which belonged to my father. She took over all the preparations and made sure that it was done quickly. I grieved my father in the best way that I knew how to, and then I went back to living my life. I knew that my father did not leave anything to me. Or so I thought. My father's lawyer contacted me to let me know that I was supposed to attend the will reading. I cannot believe that he went against my wishes and gave me money when I didn't need it. I guess he just wanted to show that he will always take care of me. It did not matter though, because I planned to use that money to sponsor a small business that I've always wanted to start. I could donate to charity if I wanted to, but my father was already doing that. But investing or sponsoring smaller businesses also makes an impact, especially in marginalized communities. Ruth was among the beneficiaries listed, and she did not look happy to see me there. I didn't talk to her simply because I refused to ruin my day with such a classless woman. After the will reading, where I got a good share of his assets, I decided that I was going to go to the hotel. My father's house had gone to me, but I decided to sort out the process of kicking them out another time. My stepmom had gotten a good chunk of the assets, including houses, so I did not think that she had anything to complain about. When I arrived at the hotel, the staff was angsty. I overheard some of the workers talking about a very difficult guest who was very demanding. They said that she was a model and demanded to be at top priority at all times. Well, that did not matter to me until when I ordered some food and I noticed that someone had dipped their hands into it. I was not very impressed, so I called my room service immediately, but they told me they did not do it. I found out where the control room was and demanded to see the footage, and I saw that in the footage, Addie stopped the person bringing me my food. She seemed to argue with her that she opened the food and ate it. Then she closed it. The helper made their way to me and then delivered the food. I wasn't really upset with the helper. I'm sure that she did not know what to do as well, but as for my stepsister, there was no need for her to act so unprofessional. So, it seemed that she was the guest who was being difficult at the hotel. I called back the woman who served my food and asked her about Addie. She told me that Addie was staying here for a while because she was on a sponsorship for a brand. I didn't care if she was here as a guest of the president, but I did not appreciate what she's done to my food. I was already stressed over some stuff, and here she was, adding to it. Well, she caught me on a bad day, and she messed around and found out, because I was not going to let her get away with this. I was going to give her a piece of my mind and tell her that she was to vacate my house, along with her mother as soon as possible, because I don't have space for them anymore. I found out which room she was in, and I was about to knock when I heard her voice. It was coming from the balcony close to her room, and it sounded like she was talking to somebody. So I followed her voice, already geared up to give her a piece of my mind, but what I heard brought absolute chills down my spine. She was talking to her mother, and they were discussing me. Her mother was saying that things did not go according to plan. She had been sure that I would get nothing because of the deal my father and I had. And I quote you this. "Now, this changes everything. She's got a bigger share than us, and she doesn't deserve it. I know that if assets are in her hands, she'll probably donate them. Imagine Dad's money being squandered like that." Addie whined. Yes, she had a thing for calling my father Dad because she wanted to suck up. Then we cannot let her. "The will has been read. It's too late." No, not quite. It's not too late," Ruth added. "We have to do something and make sure she cannot inherit anything. We have to get rid of her." There was no mistaking what they meant by that. They wanted to get rid of me permanently. I left them standing there, too sick to my stomach to pay attention to what they were saying. I really felt that they would do it if they were left with no choice. Cold fear went through my body, and when I got back to my room, I hid under the covers until I could not stop shaking. The very next morning I left, and I'm back home, and I have not told my fiancé. I've also not gone to my father's house to kick them out. In fact, I don't want to go back to that town because I'm afraid of what they'll do to me, to be honest with you. It was a threat to my life, but I don't know if it was genuine. I don't want to tell anyone because then what? It's not like I have undeniable proof or something that they even want to get rid of me because they want my inheritance. I'm sure that if I tell my husband, he will think that I'm going absolutely crazy. He really hates this rivalry I have with my stepmom and stepsister, and he's tired of hearing the drama. And talking about them is banned topic in our home. We made the rule after my father passed, thus severing my relationship with them. The problem is, I can't sleep. All I can think about is what they're going to do to me. Update number 3, I should have gone to the police. You guys were right. I should have gone to the police or told someone who could have protected me. Instead, I decided to ignore the threat to my life and decided not to give them power over me and how safe I feel in my own hometown. I talked to a real estate agent about putting my father's house on the market, and then I started talking to someone about donating the rest of the money. In the meantime, I also hired someone to look into my stepmom for me. I wanted to get any dirt on her that would help me keep her at bay so that I could do what I needed to do. I focused on thinking that they would do, well, anything to me. They were capable of such. Before visiting my father's house, I sent them an email, alerting them that they have 30 days to vacate, which was a bit generous now that I think about it. I got a response from my stepmom almost instantly, who said there was nothing wrong with it. But as a precaution of safety, I got my husband to come with me to the home. I just needed to make sure that everything was in order and to fetch my stuff, which I left when I went to college. I was probably going to donate it anyways, but there was a few books that I still needed. When we got there was a warm welcome which looked like a lot of sucking up to me, but I didn't really care what they did. I kept an extra careful eye on them the whole time just to make sure they did not do anything suspicious. I'd not forgotten about what they said at the hotel, and luckily, they had no idea that I was on to them, so that was an advantage to me. It was a week later when they made their move, which was very catastrophic for me. It had me wishing that I had reported them soon as I heard what they were planning, but I had been way too stubborn. I had let my guard down and I paid for it. One afternoon, I was getting some work done while sitting in my room when I get a call from the hospital. My husband has been involved in a car hijacking and had suffered minor injuries. I left everything and rushed to the hospital where I saw him indeed. I asked Sven about the details of the hijacking and it had been men. And he tried to stab my husband, but because my husband's a bit muscular, the cut was not that deep. But there was more details that shook me to my core. He said that the hijacker asked him where the owner of the car was, and he refused to tell him that, well, that's when he got stabbed. Sven had been using my car, and he left him on the side of the road and took the vehicle. Well, I got my tracking company to find it, while my husband gave a statement, and there's no denying it. It was them who was responsible for what happened. My husband had just been in the wrong place at the wrong time, so I filed the police report and filled them in on what I overheard and told them to pay extra attention to those two. My husband was discharged on that same day and he went to a motel. We decided to lay low for a few days while the police investigate. He was not very happy that I kept the threat to my life a secret, but he was just glad that I was not the one who was in that vehicle at that moment. For I might not have survived if they've gotten to me. I'm sure the hijacker had been told to make sure the job was completed. Within a few hours, my tracking company found my car abandoned in an alleyway. I told the police and gave them the coordinates of where my car had been abandoned. Just when I thought things could not get any more messy, it did. I got a call from the private investigator that I hired, and he told me some unexpected news. My stepmother never got properly divorced from her ex-husband because of some reason the papers were not filed. So this meant that she was not my father's wife and did not have any right to his property at all. It was like a rainbow after a very rainy day. I was beyond glad that I had that investigation conducted because with this new piece of information, I could make sure that those greedy people get nothing. Final updates. Hey guys, I didn't think I'd be back for another one, but
I'm happy to say that after suffering with those two for a while, they're finally out of my life. My little discovery opened a whole can of worms for them. With it came revelations that shocked even me. For once I realized that they were capable of murder. They are true gold diggers, and they have done some bad things for money. Everything happened within a span of a few days. By the end, my head was spinning and I could not tell between dreams and reality. While the police investigated my claim, I filed for my stepmother to be removed from my father's will. All of the evidence was taken into account and the marriage was deemed null and void. I was granted my request and I got my father's entire estate. They were very furious and started sending me threats, which I passed along to the police, who were getting very close in their investigation. A week later, Ruth was arrested, but not for attempted murder, but for faking a marriage certificate and a divorce. It appeared that she purposely did not file for divorce from her ex-husband, who is conveniently a very old man, close to kicking the bucket in just a couple of years. I don't know the story of how they broke up, but I suspect it's because she had not gotten what she wanted. Then she met a bigger fish, aka my father, and she stuck her hooks in him. It was proven that she purposely prevented the divorce, and when she got married to my father, the marriage certificate was indeed fake and had been proven in court to be a phony. While she was getting charged, the police laid a charge against her and her daughter for the attempted murder of my husband. The evidence, well, it was overwhelming. We did not even have to testify. The person they hired ratted and sung like a canary when the police traced the car back to him. After that, they found text and voice messages which proved they had been planning a hit on me for quite some time now. So, indeed, I was not crazy when I heard them say they wanted to get rid of me. I wish that I looked into them a lot earlier so I would not be in this mess, and I'm just glad that they get none of my father's fortune, which I'm going to do with, as I said. I'm only going to keep one thing to remember him by, which is the house close to where I stay, where he spent his final days. It's a bit more spacious than our apartments, and there'll be space for the kids one day. That is true. Very soon we're going to have our own family. There's no baby yet, but we're trying really hard to have one real soon. As for Ruth and Addie, they're behind bars, serving 2 years, but if they're on their best behavior, they're going to be out soon. But I don't think too much about them these days. I just care about using my father's money to make this world a better place. A more better place than I found it.
Ruth and Addie are some of the characters in this story that were just absolutely ruthless. And in the last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I don't think we've had a duo like this that was this toxic, ruthless, and just, well, narcissistic and did not care for anybody. I mean, we're talking about an attempted murder here. They literally hired a hitman to try to get OP. Luckily, they were stupid about it, and there was countless evidence left behind, fingerprints and whatnot, which led them to the guy that they hired, who sang like a canary. So I want to know from you guys, what do you think about this entire story? And the worst part to me about the story was, at the end of it, we find out that Ruth and Addie are only getting 2 years in prison? Wow, that doesn't seem like a lot to me. But guys, I want to hear your opinion on this. What do you make of it? Luckily, at the end, OP is just deciding to cut all ties and not have anything to do with them again. But what happens when they get out of prison? I mean, she's not running away. She's even keeping her father's house. Well, I don't know. Let's talk about this one in the comments section. There was just so much going on with it. I do hope you enjoyed the narration today, and if you want more videos, go ahead and click that subscribe button. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya.